Peter Pan. I saw someone post a question whether you thought that Peter Pan or Captain Hook was actually the villain in the story. And, I've talked about Peter Pan syndrome before, the idea that, some men have a failure to launch, they don't want to grow up. But I thought about it slightly differently after looking at this question, because if you're thinking about Peter Pan being a villain, why would he be a villain? Okay. My first answer is he's trying to convince kids that it's okay and even desirable not grow up. Now, there is a part of us that I think always remains a child, that inner child that you hear people talk about. I think that there's always going to be a part of us that's childlike, and that's fine. But growing up, if you want to have a healthy life, a fulfilled life, a life with purpose, you have to grow up and accept mature responsibilities. And I was thinking about, how some men say, hey, I'm a big kid. Don't get mad at me. I'm a big kid, and they pursue a lot of things that give them quick dopamine hits. Like some of these guys will be gamers. Now, of course, recreation is great and everything in its place is great, but some people become addicted to certain things. Some people have no ambition, no goals, no other form of recreation besides something that kind of puts them on a dopamine loop. And, the two things that come to my mind most often with dopamine loops is video games and sexy time videos. So, it made me think about how some of these men, when they get into a relationship, one of their biggest complaints is that the woman is interfering with their time to play video games, or thinks that they're spending too much time on video games, and they get really upset about this. Now, once again, I've already said that we all need time to recreate. But again, if you are acting immaturely, kids that are immature and are allowed to do this, they have been known to throw big tantrums when their electronics are taken away, and to be destructive and to lash out. And you can see sometimes that same exact behavior in some grown men when they're questioned about their use of their time, or how much energy and attention they're putting on these things that give them dopamine hits, instead of being engaged with family, instead of having goals, instead of, doing things that need to be done to be an active member of the household. So it just really, for me, again, makes me think that we can't idolize Peter Pan or this idea of being a big kid, because it has translated into men saying things like they want a woman like their mother, and ostensibly their mother was someone who let them play video games as much as they wanted to, and they talk about how they want that same unconditional love. Well, when you have a partner, you are expecting that partner to contribute. And that's why you got into the relationship, to have a partnership, to have a teammate, to have someone who helps to pull the weight of the relationship and the weight of life. And if that person is leaving their end of the relationship responsibilities undone because they're being a big kid. That's not what most people signed up for. They didn't sign up for parenting their spouse or their partner and being that person's mother or father. So we have to grow up to have healthy relationships, and we can't, parentify our kids because we want to be big kids instead of being adults. And we can't treat our partners as parents because we still want to be big kids. We have to be adults and enjoy that childlike part of us at certain times when it's appropriate, when it's non-intrusive, when it's part of a self-care practice, but not when it's taking over our lives and preventing us from growth. Because once again, our goal should be to grow, to self-actualize. And that means that we have to get out of our comfort zone. We have to grow up. We have to mature. We have to demand some things of ourselves that are not going to be these quick dopamine hits. You can get on a video game and in a few minutes have your first thrill of, getting to the next level, or, getting a certain prize, or, defeating a certain obstacle. Life isn't always like that. You don't always get these quick, easy dopamine hits. Sometimes you have to work at something for a while before you see any progress. And that's the way life is. Things come in seasons. You plant in one season, you harvest in another. So sometimes that manifestation or that result takes time. And that's part of being mature, that we understand that, and that we're not, frustrated, angry. We don't give up just because things don't happen overnight. And so I think that we really do, if we want to have healthy relationships, we have to come into them as adults and expecting to be treated as adults, expecting to pull our weight as adults, and not thinking that we can come into relationships as big kids. And I just think that that's something that society has let go on for too long and not challenged, because women were supposed to be so unconditionally loving, and they were even guilt tripped by men if they weren't unconditionally loving to these big kids. But the woman is not supposed to be your mom. She's supposed to be your partner. And you're not supposed to be a big kid. You're supposed to be, again, her partner. So just my food for thought. May you walk in Zenergy. Peter Pan. I saw someone post a question whether you thought